Hello, I'm Mr. Levine. You may know me from such movies as Mr. Levine's Math Class and Mr. Levine's Science Class. Well, today what I want to talk to you about is public speaking for middle schoolers. I'm going to give you a few tips that hopefully are going to help you, and not just in middle school, but long term, because those of you that can public speak and speak in front of a crowd are going to do very well competitively. All right, I'm ready for my close-up. I'm ready. Let's go. Okay, first of all, whenever you're going to present in class or in front of anybody, you want to look your best. Does that mean you have to wear a suit when you public present? Certainly not in middle school, maybe not even in high school, depending on what you're doing, okay? And even in your job later on. But the point is to look your best for the part you're playing for that particular presentation or project or whatever you have going on. So what are some things that you should be doing? You want to make sure your hair is beautifully combed, looking your best. Get it out of your eyes. Nobody wants to be looking at a one-eyed monster, or even worse, somebody who looks like they can't see anything at all. So get that comb out and wash that hair, all right? And lastly, remember, that first impression counts. When you get in front of somebody, whether it's a teacher, somebody in the community, or when you start going for those job interviews, they're going to look you up and down and look at your appearance. Is it fair? Not necessarily, but that's the way it is. So make sure you look your best. So I'm here to talk about the stuff today is about science stuff. So here we go. Okay, speak up. Sometimes you folks say I'm a little too loud, and that's probably true. But what you don't want to be is too quiet. And you don't want to be mumbling to your audience. Clearly enunciate. You want people to pay attention to you, and in order for them to do that, they need to be able to hear you, they need to be able to understand you. So be clear, be loud, speak to the back of the room, and you'll be in good shape. Oh yeah, don't chew gum when you're in front of people trying to give a presentation or convince them of something. Nobody wants to see your gum in your mouth or watch you do this, chewing. The topic that I'm studying today and going to tell you about is about the cells are in everybody's stuff, and what's really important with your audience, especially if you want to be persuasive, is to make eye contact with your audience. Now, if that makes you nervous, if you're unable to do that, you can sort of pretend you're making eye contact by sweeping the room and keeping your eyes slightly overhead the eyes of people in the room. They're not going to necessarily know that you're not looking at anybody, but you want to make sure that you're keeping eye contact pretty much at all times. You can move your head, you can move your body, you can even move around the room, although you don't want to move too much while you're making that eye contact, okay? Your body language, stand up straight, have a good posture. You want to transmit strength, okay? When you're using hand gestures, you want to make them strong. If you do this, you're going to look like maybe you don't know what's going on. This is a, huh? So, strong gestures, but you don't want to be moving wildly and making gestures wildly, because that can distract the audience as well. 7 years ago, wait, where was I? Hold on, I got it right. I forgot, hold on. Okay, you want to be prepared. There's not always a lot of time to prepare, but the more prepared you are, the better your presentation is going to go. First of all, the more prepared you are, the more confident you feel in your ability to communicate your message. All right? Additionally, you seem like a subject matter expert. When you're trying to get your point across, if you're not perceived as a subject matter expert, you're not going to be trusted, and people may not pay as much attention to you. Okay? When you're more prepared, you're ready to be able to answer questions. All right? There are hopefully going to be questions at the end of your presentation, and you want to make sure you can handle those questions. And if you can't, don't pretend that you know the answer. It's always best to say, I'm not sure about that. Can I get back to you later? And one last thing, you don't want to memorize your speech. all right? It's best, if you have to have some bullet points, okay, in your hand or on the slide, because if you memorize something and you forget where you're at, your mind may go blank and then you're in worse shape. If you internalize it, meaning you really know your material, memorization isn't necessary. All right, are you using slides like I am? You want to make sure they're not overly busy with too much information on them. Slides are not designed to be read by you or your audience. At best, you want it for them to look at, have something to look at, to remind them where you are, and if you need to remind you where you are, okay? So instead of having all of this text on what Superman's origin is, you might just have something here, just a few quick bullet points about where Superman came from, his parents, etc. This on a slide is much better than this on a slide. I am going to talk to you today about a very interesting topic, and I am going to do the following. If you are using slides and you are a little bit unsure about your material and you didn't memorize it, which I've already said you don't want to do, but you need some reminders, you don't want to be staring at a screen, you can use note cards. But the same thing applies. You don't want to be reading from those note cards and staring down at those note cards, because then your audience, you lose that contact with your audience as your head's going back and forth, or as you maybe are moving throughout the room, okay? You want to keep their attention, and you do that by continuing to project out to speak to them and not to your hands and not to a piece of paper. Using slides shouldn't look like this. Oftentimes we pick colors or fonts or pictures or all sorts of things that some people can't read at all, or it's hard to track. So when you're looking at your slides, if you're not sure if somebody can read them or if they find them as pleasing as you find them, show it to a couple people. Make sure that you're standing in the back of the room when you're testing it out. Make sure that it's readable. But this is an example that you really don't want to use. And oddly enough, I have seen, maybe not this bad, but I've seen some interesting fonts and interesting colors used in class presentations. I did this topic because I had to. So here I go. I'm just going to, tell you what I have to do so that I get a grade. Should I go? Should I start? And last but not least, you need to be able to show that you're interested in your material, that you're enthusiastic about your material, and that you're being energetic. And if you're not, you gotta fake it. One of the best things my first manager ever told me when I was in sales is fake it till you make it. So put on that smile, get some energy going, project that voice. Because if you're energetic, enthusiastic, and you're loud, you will bring your audience along with you. And it'll be a much better, more successful presentation. And if you practice these skills, you'll be well on your way being better than most people out there, because as you may or may not know, people oftentimes fear public speaking more than anything else. So take advantage of the opportunities you have while you're here and in high school to practice those skills, so when you're out in the workplace competing against somebody sitting right next to you, if you can communicate well, not only in front of people, but on paper, you're going to be in great shape.